Ladies and gents, I have an amazing agency coaching call recording where I help this individual on his journey where he's currently at 5 figures. He wants to get to 6 figures. He's about to graduate college. He asks a lot of great questions like, should I pursue my agency full time? Should I get a job and try to scale my agency on the side when I graduate? Like, what should I do to be able to scale into 6 figures and what's the best pathway? So, a lot of good questions that are answered to help you scale your agency. Also, if you're younger and you're in school. Otherwise, there's still a lot of value in this. And he's also in the crypto space, so really interesting. Anyways, without further ado, if you're new to the channel, my name is Taylor Benchard. I run an agency called Better AMS. We are an advertising agency, and we've scaled to over $160,000 per month. We have almost a 20-plus person team. Yada, 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 social proof and background on me. And without further ado, the purpose of this channel, as you can probably already tell, is to help you scale your agency into the 7+ figure range and love the process as you scale, because there's a lot of agency owners who hate their lives and they're not making a whole lot of money, and you could make a lot more money and go a lot faster and really enjoy the process. So that's the purpose of this channel. If you enjoy it, hit the subscribe button. Without further ado, let's dive into this recording. Much love, everybody. I hope you enjoy this. Ciao. Is this a free one-on-one coaching call?
It is. It is.
I literally have been on like 6,000 calls today. So I just literally hopped off a call like 30 seconds ago. I was like, oh my God.
That's fair.
Yeah, and it doesn't say in the meeting because it just says like Owen, Taylor, and I'm like, all right, let's see what this is.
Yeah, just go to do it.
So, yeah, I mean, like just a little bit like background. Where you at? Tell me a little about you, where you're from, and all that. Let's just maybe 1-2 minutes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I'm in sort of an interesting position where, so I'm actually still in college. I'm getting my degree in computer science and mathematics.
Cool.
And so I go to a school that has a program where you basically just work at a company like full time for like 6 months, and then that's like a part of the curriculum. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm currently basically just working a full-time software engineering job, but on the side I am running a smart contract audit firm with a co-founder.
Yes.
And I'll just briefly describe like what that is, just to give all the context in case you aren't familiar with like smart contracts and auditing, all that. So basically, in the Web3 space, you can write code and then deploy it to the blockchain. And all this stuff is immutable, and it manages millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, sometimes even billions of dollars of digital assets. And what happens often, and you've probably heard of a few of these exploits, is that people will find like basically just bugs in the code, and then they'll like exploit them to steal like sometimes 9 figures, right? So people actually pay a lot of money to basically just have their code reviewed, right? By people who understand the language and have seen all the exploits. And so me and my co-founder, who is also a student at the same university, have just gotten pretty good, a lot better than like the market average for like audits. We've got pretty good at finding these vulnerabilities. And so we started an audit firm to basically go and just do these audits. And so I consider this to be an agency. I don't, it's sort of the same model where you're doing like, you're basically, you're sort of like a, almost like a dev agency, right? So you're
your service. Yeah.
Hiring out like code review basically.
Yeah.
And I think the only like main difference here between like a normal like media marketing agency is that I think generally you have like a recurring revenue type of deal with your customers. Is that correct?
It's actually not generally. Like it's most agencies are project based, to be honest with you. But well, not even most. It's probably a very equal split between project and recurring. So either or.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, our deals, at least thus far, we've only been doing this for like, gosh, I think like 3 months at this point. So we've really just started, but we've quickly been able to get up to like just breaking into the 5 figures, but it's not on like any sort of like recurring basis. We have like big deals that we'll get, and then, it's sort of like you have to hunt for everything, and then you eat, and then you look for the next job, really, right?
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd say in my position right now, I would say that my number one problem is just that I don't have enough time to actually like focus on the audit business. And
Okay.
it's, I mean, it sounds obvious, right? Like, um, I'm still in college, so I'm basically working a full-time job right now. And then also I'm taking a class over the summer and then trying to do these audits. And I'm definitely working like at least 14 hours a day. So
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, so that's basically my background. And I'd say if I have like one question for you, it would be, so when I graduate, I have a like a full-time job lined up. It's like it's a tech like software developer job.
Sure.
And my like the biggest question that I have right now, and you know, this is all based on like how do we do with audits in the coming months, of course. But I guess the question is like when do I know when I should quit my job and just go full time on doing this, right?
Yeah. Well, when do you finish school?
Yeah, so I graduate in December coming up.
And you're working full time right now also, or?
Yeah, so as a part of the curriculum, they have these things called co-ops where
Yeah.
you basically just work full time for like 6 months. I'm on one of those periods right now. You're not really supposed to take classes while you're doing this, but I'm also taking classes just so I can graduate earlier.
So between the job and the classes, how much time does that take up in a week?
Probably 50 hours a week.
So that leaves you with like what, 20 hours to 25 hours for the audit company?
Yeah, I think I get up to like 25.
Yeah. How old are you?
I'm 20.
Sweet. You got that young blood, dude. You can do 70, 80-hour work weeks for another couple of years. I certainly did it. Everybody in their 20s can do it. In the early 20s, early 20s, early 20s. um, yeah, I mean, like, dude, graduate, you know, get out of the classes, keep doing what you're doing with the audit stuff, with the 10, 20 hours that you have. And once you graduate, I'm assuming you can put in a little bit more time, because how much does the extra courses take per week?
Yeah, so I mean, once I finish my, I think these next 4 weeks are just like they're a little ridiculous, right? Because I'm going to be on classes and on co-op, but that will end at the beginning of July. So then I'll just be taking classes and then doing audits, and that's much more manageable, right?
Yeah. Here's the best thing you could do with this time until you like finish school, right? Because it's December. Was that like 6 months out almost?
Yeah.
6 months. This is perfect. Okay. If there's one thing you could do that would be the best thing ever, it would just be to connect with, like, continuously prospect every day and connect with these ideal brands that you want to work with and audit for. But it's also kind of difficult, right? Because it's a temporal period when there's auditing, right? It's before they launch, or is it during? It could be at any time.
Yeah, that's the thing about outbound that we had initially struggled with is that you have to catch them right
Right
before.
before they launch. Interesting. Yeah. You can't catch it after they launch. What if they launch? Can't do it.
So there are definitely like bug bounties and all sorts of things where it's
That's what I
like
thought.
if you find a bug in a deployed contract that has millions of dollars, like they better be offering to pay you to not steal that money. But then, so we've got this partnership with a decentralized exchange actually, and what they're doing is basically launching other protocols like on their exchange. And what that means is they want us to come in as like a third party to basically go ahead and like audit all of the
All the
tokens.
protocols. Okay.
Yeah. And so they're going to basically just be feeding us a bunch of business. And so we'll have like that sort of consistency. And, you know, basically they're doing all the user acquisition for us.
Great. How many companies are there like that?
Like decentralized exchanges like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think there's at least like 5 to 10 like that.
That's it in the entire market?
Yeah, so I mean, there's not a lot of decentralized exchanges in general, and even less that like do this model of like vetting things. Or maybe I'm just a little blind to the market. Maybe I need to look into that more.
Definitely look into that more if you feel like you're not 100% certain, because that sounds like the most ideal client, right? Somebody that's constantly launching new things and needing audit services for, opposed to like a one-time thing. You know, it's still fine. Like, I think that like you should just keep going down the path that you're going down. And with the 10 to 15 hours a day that you have, or sorry, a week, 10 to 25 hours you have a week to do. Yeah, that'd be nice. That would be nice. 10 to 25 a day. Just connect with a lot more people in the space as much as you can. I don't know where people are in the crypto space, you know, where they're talking. It sounds like it's Discords a lot. But if it is possible to connect with them on LinkedIn and or Facebook or whatever, try to connect with them on all the different platforms and begin building your network. Like, this is probably the most important thing that you can do early on, is just networking and relationship building with everybody in the industry, getting on calls with random people, just offering your advice as much as possible, and just for free also sometimes, you know. That's probably the biggest thing you could do with the time that you have. Obviously, that in doing that, that's going to lead to you landing more contracts and more deals and whatever. But don't worry about the money. Just focus on the relationship building aspect for these 6 months, like very heavily, so that when you do have more time, you'll have a bigger pipeline, opposed to if you're just focusing on trying to close a lot of deals right now, especially early on. Like, it's just better to build relationships and network with people and try to provide a lot of value and become a thought leader in the space on how to audit smart contracts. And like, it's the best thing you can do. And then when you have a lot more time, you can get more deep into outreach. And I mean, we don't even really need to talk about that because you haven't really had that time to go deep into it, right?
Yeah, and I'd say like right now, it's like it's kind of surprising how quickly things have, like, I guess it's just we're in like a good market, right?
Mm-hmm.
The downturn, but we really have been so busy with audits and actual like contracts that like we haven't even like had the time to focus on like outreach or anything like that, because we did like a month of outreach. We built up a few initial relationships, and those initial relationships have just fed us so well that we're like overburdened with work, which is like a good problem to have.
How does that work? So if you did some outreach, there's a few initial relationships. Are these separate companies that were launching that you did smart contract auditing for? And then,
Yes.
then what?
Yeah. So there were a few projects that we were already familiar with, just having been in the crypto space beforehand. We just happened to get their audit, and so you know when you get somebody's audit, you spend like a week just like doing the full breakdown, or a month, or however long, and we just provided a higher quality than like the vast majority of audits out there, and people are just impressed. So
Yeah.
you know, they continue to either, the good thing about finding these teams that are like really in the space and writing new code is that these teams keep writing new protocols and new contracts. So it almost is recurring, like a week recurring, where like if a team writes a protocol and then writes an upgrade for some of their contracts, they're going to come back to us if we did a really good audit.
Yeah. That's so it doesn't seem like it's not just a one-time thing. It seems like it's a super important, essential part of the business that is ridiculously like it's like the insurance, literally. Like, they can't not do it.
Yeah, and that's interesting because there's different reasons why people get an audit, and it depends on the team. So some teams will just get an audit just for like a check mark, so that like the people who come looking to invest in the product will be like, oh, did you get the audit? And that's where people will get like an audit from like Certic or something like that. I don't know if you've heard of them, but
Super
they're
cheap.
like, what's that?
Super cheap.
Yeah, Certic is, well, so they're actually just the known brand that everybody who's investing in these tokens, they know Certic, because they do have good auditors, but they've scaled so much now that like the top auditors aren't going to be auditing your project if you go to Certic, but they charge a lot. And the reason they're able to charge a lot, so for reference, one of the projects that we audited, I was talking to the CEO, and he said that he had like a token contract, which was like maybe like 300 lines, which would take you like maybe a day or 2 days if you had like two auditors on it.
Okay.
And they charged 24K. So like decent margins.
Yeah. And you charged, you would have charged how much?
For that token contract. So we actually have a different charging model, and it would be interesting to get your opinion on this as well. So when we were first starting out, we wanted to reduce all the risk that people would have when they perceive like getting our audit, because when people go and they spend thousands of dollars on an audit, they do so because they know that that audit firm has the reputation,
Right.
they're to deliver a good audit. And when you're just starting out, you don't have the track record.
Very difficult. Right? Yeah.
So here's our, or at least here was our pricing model, is that you just give us $500 down to begin the audit, and then only pay more if we actually find like vulnerabilities in your code that like would merit changes, right? And we'd rank them by like critical, high, medium. This
cool.
This also nice. Done every other like Certic, they bucket things into critical, high. So people were familiar with this like grouping of vulnerabilities, but nobody had actually, or at least very few firms were charging based on the results that they get, right? And so that's what we did, and that's how we were able to get our initial customers. And I think it's actually a good model because it literally yields a better product. Because here's the thing, if I get an audit from some protocol and then they say that they're going to pay me 10 grand if I find a critical vulnerability, and then I say to my auditor who's going to be auditing them, hey, you can have a $2,000 bonus if you find a critical vulnerability, they're going to spend a lot more time looking at that contract, as opposed to if we just got like 20K up front and then I say, okay, just do this in 5 days, or they're just going to spend as little time as possible, which is not what you want when you are really trying to uncover vulnerabilities, right?
Yeah. I mean, definitely, it's a better model incentive wise, like psychologically speaking. I think it's much better for both the person auditing and the brand that you're, or currency, I don't know what you would call it, brand that you're working with. So I like it. I think it was great that you guys have decided to do that. I don't think that I would change it right now. Pricing evolves over time, and it's something that only you and or your partner will understand how to evolve it. So I think what you've done is great. It also is just much easier for you to go out and do lead gen.
Yeah.
Way easier. So there's no scenarios where like someone pays $500, you didn't find anything, and that's it. That was just $500, even though you went through all the code and you didn't find any errors. Like, do they not owe you anything if that's the case? Because you still audited it, right?
Yeah. So thus far, we haven't actually had anything like that. We've even looked at we've looked at projects where the code was like really well written and the team was very strong, and we looked at it for like 3 days. We're like, man, there's no vulnerabilities here. But then my co-founder, he really wants that bonus, right? So on the fourth day, maybe we wouldn't have been looking on the fourth day, but he uncovered like a high vulnerability on the fourth day, and we got like a good payout. But it is entirely possible that there is just no bugs in the code, and that we do get like paid like a fraction of what we should have for the time that we put in.
I think that, consider it like this: as you're scaling up and you're building your reputation, great. It's a nice little hack to get your way into the community and prove yourself and get some case studies. But once you have the reputation and you're known and you've done a good job of marketing your reputation, you need to be charging higher prices and upfront, because now you're established in the market. And that's just how it works. When you establish yourself as the number one leader or you're close to it, people expect to pay upfront. So it's like, it is cool if you can add in some type of incentive model, but yeah, as you guys get bigger and more well-known and more trusted and more case studies, you have the authority to do so and not do this type of model.
Yeah, so it's really about like the brand and then like building awareness, and then we could have that leverage to charge a lot more. And I think that would help us with the next thing that I want to ask you about, which is like scaling our service, right? So this is definitely like months down the road because I'm still in college. Like I have no business like hiring another full-time auditor, but smart
You don't
contract
know, maybe.
auditors, maybe we'll see. But smart contract auditors are extremely expensive, especially if you want to get a good one that will actually like provide a good audit. Like I like upwards of like 200K a year for like a good auditor, right?
Sure.
So this is this is hard to scale, right? Or at least maybe that's my mental model. But it's hard to scale, and then unless you're charging these certain prices. So it seems like we would have to get
Yeah.
to that recognition first, and then we'd be able to scale. I was thinking about other ways for us to like use leverage to scale our service. What do I mean by that? I mean, should we look for opportunities to make like high leverage deliverables, such as like maybe, and maybe the market doesn't want this, but maybe you make like a do it yourself audit, which, you know, maybe that doesn't actually work, but this is just an idea of like, I make content that will like show you how to audit your code. And then I don't have to take my expensive auditors and then actually audit your code. If you want us to do that, you could pay a premium. But if I'm going to use the high leverage option and charge a little bit less and try to scale it more, maybe I give you that. Or perhaps there are things like monitoring tools. So once you've deployed your contracts, there are a very select few audit companies who have like they've done research in like monitoring and things like that, where they will monitor these contracts and just charge you like a retainer every single month just to have this monitoring that will like alert you or maybe an engineer they have on like pager duty or something like that as soon as like some sort of like weird transactions go on.
Okay. I love that. I love that model. That's the second half of what you said in terms of just like building the tools and the tech that can be able to monitor things as a recurring model. That's legendary.
Yeah, because I was just thinking like in this age, it seems like what really makes fortunes is gaining leverage through either content or code, right? Those are the two like big things that are making people a lot of money right now. And if we were to just hypothetically stick to just doing audits and just trading basically time for money and providing the service, we're not really utilizing the leverage of code or content. We are utilizing our brand perhaps when we start to charge more, but I feel like we would really be missing out if we didn't look into trying to create leverage through those means.
Yes. And the way you need to think about it is every like really good content offers or code offers, SaaS offers, typically stems out of done for you services. So it's great that you're going into this market and you're trading time for money, because in doing that, you build up cash flow, very cash positive because it's time for money. And so it's a very simple like model. You don't need to raise all this money and hire devs and have investors and do series A, like it's just very simple. And you can typically bootstrap the hell out of it and make good cash doing it between you and your partner or whatever, assuming you guys have the knowledge to be able to fulfill the service, which it sounds like you and your partner do. And then as you build up cash and you see more and more scenarios, you work with more and more clients. Typically it's like a dozen or two clients. After doing that, you're like, we could really build some tools that do this. And then we could offer that. Let's start making a bigger bet and investing in building that and start pitching that. Or let's actually just first start pitching it to people and see if there's interest. And then let's go and build it. Opposed to, being 20 years old and thinking, I want to build this tool. Let's try to sell it to some people, but oh wait, we should raise money because we're broke and we don't even know how to like build it, or I don't, you know what I mean? So yeah, what you just said is great. And it's the evolution of what you're doing. If you want to evolve there, right? Like you can still build a great agency that just trades time for money and build it into the 8-9 figures. Like there's tons of $1 billion agencies. They're out there. It's just, they didn't happen as quickly as the softwares that came out because coding has way more leverage, like you said. Info selling courses as well. It's a little bit different, but yeah, so you're on the right track.
Yeah, so it sounds like what that might look like is like we come up with some sort of high leverage deliverable that's like either a content or like a coding, like maybe like monitoring thing, and then we offer it as like an upsell. Is that what you think?
Yeah, the idea of like, hey, we'll teach you how to do this yourself. I don't know. You'd have to go to the market and see what they say. You know, if there's demand for it, fantastic. I can't even really give you my opinion on it because I've never been in a scenario of needing to, you know, do a smart contract audit. Go to the market, ask them. I personally like the idea of the other stuff more in terms of the recurring model, because it's recurring and it's more SaaS like. It is SaaS like, and it's also in the crypto space. And dear Lord, is that thing hot as ever right now. So, and like, dude, if you like, let's say that you get, I don't know, a couple dozen contracts, you guys have a decent amount of cash in the bank, 50, 100,000, something like this. You should be able to stack up 6 figures in like their first year of having more time to invest in this very easily. Great. If you can do that, and then you have clientele that's saying like, hey, yeah, I would love that. That'd be a really cool tool. And you can kind of figure out some pricing for it, do some market research, figure out what other people are charging for it. And if it is an expensive thing to develop, you'd have no problem raising money to develop that. And that'd be a really great experience for you guys to go through early on, especially, and you would get good terms for it too, because you're already generating revenue. You already have a client base or like a customer base. You've kind of verified that there's a market for this. So there's a lot of different ways you could go with it. I like that route more so than we'll teach you how to do it, but you got to ask the market and see what they want.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you. I think we're just about at time.
Yeah, dude. Anything else?
I guess real quick, just a real quick shooter. Do you see any advantage to staying at my job, which is like your typical high paying tech job, to fund, maybe have like that stream of income to be able to fund the audit firm?
Yes. I'm of the belief that you should stay there because it's only 40 hours, right? Yeah. Maybe 45, 50 if you're putting a little bit of extra time. And you're also building your fucking mastery, like your craft, right? You're programming, which is that not important to like smart contract auditing as well?
It's tangential because they're kind of like different worlds, but it's the same ballpark.
Is it not beneficial at all?
I would say it's like 5% beneficial.
Oh shit, really? It's that different? Okay.
Yeah, there are 2 different worlds.
And your partner, what about him? Is he also on the same path as you doing?
Yeah, so I would say he's definitely in the same track, same situation.
And he's also debating all the same things that you're debating?
Yeah, he's more like, I want to stick to my job, but I'm more just like, because it would genuinely be my dream to just work on something that I can build and that I actually own, right?
Cool. And he's not so much, that's not his dream.
No, it definitely is his dream, but he's definitely more like risk averse. And I'm ready to just like, I would drop out today. Like, I don't even care.
I mean, yeah, if you're way more like, if you're way more, your tolerance for risk is much higher. It depends on a lot of things. Like a lot of things. There's so many variables. Can you live at your parents' house, and are they going to support you and feed you, or do you have enough money to support yourself for like a year, so that you can go all in on smart contracts if you really wanted to? I personally think you should probably stick with the job thing for like 6 to 12 months, and because you can do both. And if you can get a great paying like tech job, fantastic. Like, do that. I don't know. You have student loans and debt to pay off or something like this? No?
Nope.
Oh, fucking amazing. Great. Yeah, dude, you're in a great position. So you can stock. How much do you think you can make in salary first year?
So the offer, like total comp with like stock and everything, is like 180.
Are you kidding? 180 first job? Dear Lord. Okay, that's insane.
I might be spoiled, but.
What school you go to?
Northeastern.
I don't even know what that is. Where are you?
I'm in Boston.
Oh, okay. So is it a good school?
Yeah, their acceptance rate was like 10% this year. It was like ridiculous.
So you're a smart kid?
I don't think so. I'm not that smart.
Okay, great. I mean, I feel the same way. I don't think I'm that smart either. But 180, dude. I'll be damned if you don't take that. You need to stack cash, because it's so freaking important to have cash in the early stages of starting an agency. And I wish I had cash. And it also gives you the peace of mind and mental clarity, and just like the ability to just live in a good space and have a great environment for you to do a startup. I fucking hated doing it in my parents' bedroom. That sucked. And then just like not having a ton of cash throughout the whole first like year or two. Dude, if I had a 200 grand job with equity or something, it would have been a breeze. I would have been like, my mental health would have been 100. It would have been like, our agency would probably be way bigger. So yeah, don't consider leaving until smart contract auditing firm becomes 30-ish thousand a month, something like this, 20-ish thousand a month, somewhere in this range, and it's consistently doing that much revenue, and you're getting a lot of momentum, and you're just going to feel it when the time comes, but definitely not like 5 or 10,000 a month. That's just such an unstable level of revenue. 25-ish, if you can do 25-ish grand a month for, 3, 4, 5 months consistently, now you've stacked up close to, 100 to 150,000 in the bank. Yes, great. Maybe it's time you kind of go all in, but a year at the job, stack up some cash, grow it on the side.
All right, perfect. That's probably exactly what I needed to hear. Thank you.
Legendary, dude. I'm stoked for you. You've no idea. 180 coming out of school. Oh, that's insane, dude. That's insane. You're blessed.
Dude, thank you so much for taking the time, and I definitely look forward to, I heard you're starting a group.
Yeah, I'm potentially going to start a group or something where we're going to have scheduled calls, so that, because a lot of people would be like, you do these live coaching calls or Q&As, what is it called? Live streams on YouTube. But it'd be nicer to know when it's happening. And I'm just like, I don't want to tell people when it's happening. So I'll create a group, then there'll be a notice maybe once or twice a month. We'll do a group coaching call. People will ask questions. I'm thinking that's what it's going to be like. And question for you, how did you find me, dude?
Yeah, so when I first started this business, I was just looking for like advice on it, right? So I just looked up, I think, like scaling an agency on YouTube, and then you popped up.
Way.
Yeah.
Amazing. Gorgeous. Why did agency come to your mind? That's the first thing that came to your mind?
Yeah, so I was thinking, it was like, what business model is this? It's like a service-based business. And I was like, what people are always talking about on the internet is agencies. And we're basically an agency.
You are. With the potential to be a giant software company worth billions of dollars, because crypto, dear Lord, are people making money. So I'm stoked for you guys. Love it, dude. Well, thanks for coming on. I appreciate the insight on where you found me, and keep in touch. I mean, you have my email, you have my calendar link, so don't hesitate to reach out if you guys need something.
Yeah, absolutely. I certainly will.
All right, much love, Owen. Ciao. Hey, friend, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to watch another one that's extremely valuable, I just selected it for you, and you can check it out by clicking it right there on the other side of the screen across from my face. All right, friend, enjoy. Thanks for watching the channel.